during your career, like how have you seen those smart capabilities change and how, justice for the non-combatant has been, closer to reality?
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of that. And so when I first started flying the F 16, all we really had, the F 16 model that I was flying, we didn't have laser guided bombs when I first joined them. They got them pretty quick. But, so I started flying airplanes off of, what was then the lead technology. It's on the F 16. We had this, what they call the constantly computed impact point, this little dot that would come up on the heads up display. And we could, if you put the dot on the truck and hit the button at the right time, the bomb would find its way pretty darn close to that truck. And so this was precision with a dumb bomb. I'll tell you, a quick story. You always like to hear stories, but the first time I ever dropped a live munition was on the Nellis ranges, where I worked as a mechanic many years prior. Now I'm participating in my first red flag operation. Everybody that flies airplanes in the military knows very well what a red flag is. It's a very large force on force practice area that's north of Las Vegas in these ranges that, span 100 miles deep and wide or so. And we could also go supersonic. Well, I'm out there as a young guy, and this is the first time I'm going to drop a live ordnance. And so we do a low level. We've got F-15s are chasing us. They're the bad guys in this case. And we're supposed to get our dumb bombs on these cardboard trucks that are sitting out in the desert. And we're going to blow them up because it's live ordnance. So we pop, lead. He pops up. I pop up right behind him and, get my parameters just right and put the button, put the CCIP, the constantly computed impact point. And I put the thing on the thing and I hit my button and I feel the, both bombs kind of pop off the airplane because they're really heavy and the airplane kind of shakes a little bit. And I go, man, that is really cool. And so what we're supposed to do is then roll over about 135 degrees of bank, pull back down towards the ground, put full afterburner in and leave the area because you just kind of stirred up a hornet's nest. And at that point, well, I'm new. This is my first time. I want to see these bombs. So I roll up the other way. I get a visual. I can actually look out the window. There's a little drogue on these bombs. It was what we call a high drag ordnance, a little white drogue. And I could pick those two bombs up in flight about a second or two after released. And lead, he's already gone. But I roll up the kind of the other way, kind of floating up high a little bit. And I watch these bombs and I watch them all the way to impact. It's about a 7-second time of flight, maybe 5 seconds. So I watch these bombs for another 2 or 3 seconds. And I see both of them go right into the trucks and a massive explosion. 2,000-pound bombs was really quite the sight to see. And then I roll up and I start looking around space. I says, where's lead? And he is way off in the distance. I am way out of position. And we get F-15s chasing us. I throw it in afterburner, move down. I'm doing probably Mach 1.2, cruising down to 500 feet above the ground at the Las Vegas over the desert. It's the fastest and lowest I've ever been in my life. Trying to catch up with lead because there's two things that are going to happen. I'm going to get shot by the F-15s, and that's going to be bad because I'm going to have to stand up during the debrief and explain why I got killed from the F-15s. And the other aspect is lead's going to look back and I'm not going to be there and he's going to be pissed at me in the debrief. So I've got two things. Either I catch up with lead or I run away for the F-15s, and I was trying to do both at the same time. I was cruising just so I could watch these bombs hit. But that was the beginning of, these dumb bombs trying to get precision. And then we ended up with, laser guided bombs. And then we ended up strapping on these winglets on the back end of a dumb bomb, called them a JDAM. And now we're putting winglet on 155 rounds. And all these things were to get us down to precision. Then we went into night, lantern. And now, just as I was leaving the cockpit, we ended up with these, helmet mounted cueing systems, the Jahimix helmet system that was just out of this world in capability and gives the pilot considerable situational awareness all right in front of me. It's kind of like, they're trying to make with these, VR goggles and everything else is, we already had that starting to come into the cockpit just as I was leaving. And so all of this technology, that's what I'm talking about, is you build that, that's a capability. You put that with training, which is part of your capability. You build enough of them and you spread it out across your force, and that builds this capacity. And now you have the ability for a leadership to go, look, we have this ability to do one shot, one kill. It's going to be one thing that dies out there, nobody else. We're going to keep it away from the schoolyard. We're going to keep it away from the church or the mosque or anywhere else. And we're going to try our hardest not to have collateral damage. That is working with excellence to resolve a conflict in the minimum effort it takes to get to an end state. but ultimately it has to come down to how you do different things.